returned to Shinjuku. I was about to head back to my office when someone suddenly tapped my shoulder.
時坂さんですよね。
Oh.
I turned around, recognizing the voice.
こんにちは、高城さん。
Oh.
やっぱり時坂さんでした。
God damn, what is this song? Things just got real chipper all of a sudden. Kazuna stood there with a relieved look on her face.
見覚えのある後ろ姿だったんで、思わず声をかけちゃいました。
お買い物の帰りですか？
I looked at the paper bag she was carrying.
劇場で知り合いの公演があったんですよ。そのついでにいろいろと買い込んじゃいました。
Kazuna let out a bubbly giggle. Though she was currently on hiatus due to her pregnancy, she was supposedly a famous Tokyo theater actress. I'd never seen her perform, but I just couldn't picture her as a dignified presence on stage, considering how she normally behaved and all. No offense to her, of course. That said, I wouldn't have exactly called her your run-of-the-mill hot monde lady either. Honestly, describing her was quite the challenge.
どうかしましたか？
いや、なんでもありませんよ。
Still, maybe she could use some help with that bag. I mean, while we're here, might as well.
よろしければお荷物お持ちします。
いや、大丈夫ですよ。
Why, what's in the bag? What's in the bag? What you hiding?
身重の女性に荷物を持たせておくわけにはいきませんよ。
I snatched the bag from her before she could get another word in edgewise.
すみません。
いえ、お気になさらず。
Though not all that heavy, the bag still wasn't the kind of thing a woman mere months away from giving birth would feel comfortable lugging around for too long.
これからお帰りですか？
ええ、修吾さんのところに寄ってからですけど。
でしたら上野までお付き合いしますよ。
It was a straight shot from here to there on the Yamate line, and it wouldn't take all that long either.
いえ、そこまで甘えるわけにはいきませんから。修吾さんに怒られてしまいます。
Oh, right. Didn't hit me until then that this could easily be mistaken for me seducing a married woman.
では駅まで送りましょう。
ありがとうございます。
And so it was after that long detour that we finally made our way to the station. Please tell me we're almost at the station. Okay. Interesting. So we got time to do some more. I'd say head to Moonworld then. Cause I see, you know, like we could go there and be like, hey, I dropped off the package to your brother. He was passed out with tomato juice all over him like a fucking weirdo. But I really don't feel like dealing with Natsume either. I see no real reason to go to the park, so I guess hit up Moonworld. I arrived at Moonworld. I'd been hoping to take a little break from work, but unfortunately, was me there. The close sign was hung around the door handle. Ah, so much for that break. Oh well, I'll just swing by another time. Suddenly, my ears rang with Kyoko's shrieks the moment I turned to leave.
どうした？
Kyoko burst through the door and clung to me.
何があった？
Oh shit, did a burglar break in? I shielded Kyoko behind me and raised my fists. Figure slowly slithered out from the shadows of the cafe, revealing...
京子さん、どこ行ったんですか？
あれ？雨宮さん？
あ、時坂さん、こんにちは。隠れてないで、早く整理に戻ってください。ちょっとだけ休憩をね、Hatsuneちゃん。
I pushed Kyoko over to Hatsune, who was making an adorable effort to look intimidating with her hands on her hips. She really is adorable.
ちょっと時坂くん。
また京子が片付けを逃げ出したんだろう。
はい、そうなんです。
Hatsune and I heaved weary sighs as one.
だって仕方ないじゃない。苦手なものは苦手なんだから。
Kyoko sulked, her cheeks slightly inflated.
だからってこのままじゃいけないと思うんです。
The counter and tables were flooded with plates and utensils. Apparently, they'd closed up shop for the day to do some spring cleaning. So Kyoko had tried to use my arrival as an excuse to flee, but Hatsune wouldn't let her off the hook so easily.
整理整頓はきちんとするべきだと思うぞ。
I scolded her, fully aware I was the pot calling the kettle black. Kyoko hated cleaning just as much as I did. More specifically, she'd leave stuff in random places, making them hard to find when she actually needed them again. A sign of laziness in most people, while a troubling flaw for a business owner.
何よ、時坂くんだってゆかりちゃんがいないとダメなくせに。
俺はちゃんと読んだ本は元のところに戻しているぞ。
Hey, I can clean up my books at least.
時坂くんの場合は本だけじゃない。もうそんなこと言い合っていないで手を動かしてください、京子さん。はーい。
Kyoko reluctantly got back on her feet.
よかったな。しっかりした子が入って。
この子っておとなしそうに見えて結構完璧主義のところがあるのよね。
Kyoko grumbled as she slowly sorted the plates by group and piled them atop each other.
接客業だから当たり前だろ。
そうですよ。京子さんはそういういい加減なところを直してくれれば完璧なんですから。
I feel you, Kyoko. Keep up the good fight. I kicked back and slouched on the sofa after dinner.
初めての学院はいかがでしたか？
Suck shit. Hikari joined me once she finished cleaning up.
そうだな。みんなおとなしいんだな。
I decided not to beat around the bush.
そうですね。別段騒ぎ立てるような方はいませんね。
校則が厳しいからか？
私は特にそうは思いませんけれど、中にはそう感じている方もいるようで。
Hikari suddenly stopped short.
どうした？
これは学院の教師としての質問ですか？
いや、探偵としての調査だよ。
妹の底を案じている兄としてではなく、
今さらお前の底を心配することもないだろう。
信頼されているのですね。
Hikari beamed.
友人が校則を破っていることを知りつつも黙っている悪い人ですよ。
そうなのか？
内緒です。
I wasn't surprised she had a secret or two. She was still in school, for crying out loud. But never would I have taken her for an enabler.
危険なことだけはするなよ。
心配せずとも大丈夫ですよ。
Hikari nodded, a gentle smile on her face.
そういやゆかりは朽木東子という学生を知っているか？
ええ、もちろん同じ部活ですから。
Hikari answered immediately with a puzzled cock of the head.
朽木さんがどうかしましたか？
いや、なんでもないんだが。お前も美術部だったのか？
Now that was the real surprise.
ええ、知らなかったんですか？
てっきり昆虫部か何かだとばかり
Yeah, good
思っ
old
ていた。
bug club.
どんな活動をするんですか？
My sister sighed, clearly exasperated.
まあそれはどうでもいいとして。
朽木さんですか？そうですね。
She's
悪い方ではあり
interesting.
ませんよ。
そりゃそうだ。でも変わってるよな。
他の方とは全く違う印象を受けますよね。どこか達観しているというか、嫌われているわけではありませんけれど。
水原東子さんだっけ？
水原さんですか？確かに朽木さんとよく一緒にいるのを見かけますが。
Hikari regarded me suspiciously.
兄さんが調べている件に。
いや、赴任したばかりの講師としての質問だよ。
まあ都合のいいことばかり言うんですね。
She chuckled. I'd been studying the stains on my ceiling for quite some time, and yet sleep continued to elude me like it had the whole night. I hadn't even gotten so much as a wink after all these hours. Damn it, I'm not even drowsy. I got on my futon and put a cigarette in my mouth. Not even midnight yet, huh? I headed to the living room without lighting my cig. Yukari was probably out like a light by now. Maybe a little evening stroll would do me some good. Though it was chilly out, it certainly wasn't freezing. Okay, where to? There were only so many places I could visit at this hour. Nowhere outside Kichijoji was viable anyway. Could go to Moonworld. Could stay home and read. But we could go to the park. Ooh. Maybe we go explore around the park late at night. See what's around there. Maybe there's something. Something. I don't know. I don't know what I'm getting at. But maybe there's something, you know. Let's go to the park. I'm feeling it now. In the middle of the day, I don't know. But at night. I crossed the Chuo line and sauntered over to Inokashira Park. There wasn't anyone around. What a twist, I know. The opposite shore was practically invisible thanks to the fog. I traveled the path circling the pond. The lack of light made it difficult to proceed, though luckily it wasn't so bad that I risked falling into the pond by accident. Suddenly, I detected motion ahead of me. For a moment I entered the possibility of a ghost, but it was unlikely in this season. Now when spring was so close. Is that a thing in Japan? Are ghosts seasonal? I thought it may have been a ghost, but then I realized spring was at hand, so there's no way it could have been a ghost. Ghosts know the rules. However, I could still make out the shape of a person through the fog. It was the ghost of the girl who had been dismembered. That would have been a godsend, actually. Could have asked her who she was and you'd killed her.
なんてバカな話があってたまるかよ。
I carefully ventured into the dense fog. The figure's features slowly came into focus.
幽霊の正体見たり。
会うなり人を幽霊だなんて随分と失礼だとは思わないかい？
And when I stared into the abyss stared back at me. Or rather, an annoyed Toko Kuchiki
こ
did.
んな時間に何をしているんだ。
時坂先生こそこんなところで何をしているのかな？
Toko rebuffed my question with a little smirk. For whatever reason, she seemed different than she did in the daylight. She was clad in a bewitching yet beautiful aura that was less a girl's and more a woman's.
こんな時間に出歩いていたら危険だぞ。
心配してくれるの？ありがとう時坂先生。でも慣れているから問題ないよ。
そういう問題ではないんだけれどな。
I started to wonder if anything I said would even get through to her.
夜の公園は怖いよ。
そりゃそうだろうな。
The fog gradually lifted, revealing Inakoshira Pond, pitch black and gaping like a maw into hell.
こうして見ていると吸い込まれてしまいそうな、落ちてしまいそうな気分になるんだ。
Toko looked up to the sky.
月。
The moon poked its face through a gap in the clouds.
水面に映る月は美しいよ。揺らめきながら光を跳ね返している。
Toko pointed at the moonlight beaming toward the center of the pond.
太陽の日差しは強すぎるから、月はそれを優しく和らげてくれるんだ。
She suddenly turned back to me.
だから私は
Toko smiled alluringly.
いくら夜が好きでも、ふらふらと一人で出歩くのは感心しないな。
She was surely making her parents sick with worry.
それは教師としての言葉かい？
依頼人の身の安全を確保するのは当然だろ
I gently grabbed her arm before she could say another
う。
word.
近くなんだろう。そこまでなら。
心配には及ばないよ探偵さん。家に男性を連れて帰っては余計に驚かせるだけだからね。
Toko twirled around.
おやすみなさい。また明日時坂先生。
おい。
Her contour slowly melted into the darkness. I couldn't bring myself to chase her down.
気をつけろよ、トコ。
I could have sworn I saw Toko's shadow wave back to me as I said that. Interesting. Canto 3, The Masquerade Ball. I see. Oh, is there gonna be more text I gotta duck out of the way for?
世界を旅してみたかった。イタリア、ドイツ、フランスやイギリスへもいろいろなものがあると聞く。ここでは見られないものもたくさんあるだろう。だけれど行くことはできないだろう。だから私は夢を見る。世界中を巡る夢を。絵画や写真で見た景色の中に私がいる。
Huh. Yukari entered the living room all dressed up.
兄さん、今日は学院へ来るのですか？
ああ、授業もする予定だからな。
I had old lectures to keep up my masquerade as a part-time teacher.
でしたら一緒に行きましょうか。
そうだな。
It'd be a decent opportunity to observe all the other students heading to school
着
too.
替えてくるから少し待ってろよ。
ええ、わかりました。
Yukari and I made our way to Oba Girls Academy with plenty of time to spare.
この辺りは戦争でだいぶやられたけれど、
飛行機工場があったところですね。
そういや、そこの野球場に連れて行ってやったこと。
それほど昔のことではないから。
I casually matched Yukari's pace. And just as the school gates came up in the horizon.
Ohayo, Yukarin!
Hell yeah. A peppy voice most unsuitable for this place crept up from behind, shattering our morning tranquility.
Ohayo, Tsuzuliko. Oh! Yukarin ga oji-san to aruite ru!
誰が
I already had enough of a complex by looking older than I actually was, but that just took the cake.
私の兄さんよ。昨日の朝礼で挨拶していたでしょ兄さん、こちらは閉じるという字に子で、つづり子というの。ああ、道理で見覚えがあると思った。先生なんだね。
I love her. Was she seriously part of the same school I saw yesterday? And here I've been starting to think the place was full of mass-produced robots.
ん？なんだい？ジロジロと見ちゃって。
Too late. This girl, I swear.
なあゆかり大葉女学院ってのはこんなのでも入れるのか？
うわ、無視された。てか、こんなのって言うな。兄さん、つづり子はこれでも博学なんですよ。わ、ゆかりまでこれでもなんて親友でしょ私たち。
I love this goofball. Now hold up. I love that face. She grabbed Yukari's arm and swung it around like a lasso. If Yukari was vouching so hard for her, then they must have been great friends.
つづり子はこれまでに何冊も小説を出版しているんですよ。
そうなのか。
先生と呼んでもらっても構わないよ。
Suzu Raita. Tsuzuliko proudly tooted her own horn.
校則違反だな。非常勤でも講師としてこれは見逃せない。
いやいや、ちょっと待ってよ。
Tsuzuliko did a complete 180 and clung to my arm like a criminal getting dragged to the gallows.
私は文芸部の活動の一環として小説を書いているだけであって、副業とかそれで儲けてウハウハとかそんなの全然考えてないんだからね。
God damn.
わかったから少し落
Oh
ち着け。
shit. I love the way she talks so damn fast. First Toko, now her. How was I a magnet for all the weirdos at this school?
それでトジコはどんな話を書いているんだ？
結構いろいろ分野としては怪奇小説だよ。で、トジコって誰？
いや、つづり子って言いにくいから。
バッテントジコって言われてるみたいやなか。
ほう、トジコは博多生まれなのか。
ばあちゃんが福岡出身ばいって、それは今関係ないってば。二人ともこんなところで騒いでいては怒られますよ。
He kind of coldly chided us.
兄さんは大人なんですからきちんとしてください。
いや、珍しくからかいがいのあるやつだからな。
やーい、怒られてやんの。
I love her faces so damn much. I gotta keep taking screenshots, they're amazing.
トジコもあまり兄さんを煽らないでちょうだいね。はーい。ってゆかりんまでトジコ言わない。
Tojiko suddenly shut her big mouth the moment we reached the gates. It seemed even the craziest of wildfires were quelled at this school. The other students remained just as silent.
おはようございます、時坂先生。
Orihime greeted the line of students filing in.
おはよう、月島さん。委員会の活動会？
はい。朝の挨拶は健全な生活を送るのに必要不可欠ですから。おはようございます、織姫様。
Tojiko's voice took on a shockingly humble tone.
ええ、おはよう、よそみやさん。
どうしたトジコ？急に塩らしく。
Did she just stomp on my foot?
いかがなさいましたか、なんでもございませんわ、織姫様。
Tojiko darted over to Orihime while grinding her heel into my foot.
そうですが、よそみやさん、教師とはいえ殿方に必要以上に接することはあまり感心いたしませんよ。ええ、分かっておりますわ。
Yukari tugged at my sleeve and dragged me away from the two of them.
あいつ。
仕方ありませんよ。つづり子は普段真面目な学生で通っていますから。
Maybe, but that innocent act didn't seem the norm to me. Felt like something straight out of a novel for teenage girls.
ひょっとして昨晩言っていた校則を破っている友人というのが。
内緒ですよ。
わかってるさ。
I wasn't the type to rock the boat in a place I was just passing through, especially since it clearly had nothing to do with the case.
よそみやトジコ。
What a funny name. The time had finally come to hold my lecture. Barely I could teach the students anything so long as it was about world history. So after thinking it over, I decided to cover some topics related to the 100 Years' War. There's plenty to discuss there, including famous figures such as Joan of Arc. The bell signaling the end of the period rang. Oh, here goes nothing. Juniors I'd been teaching, the Wisteria class, had their classroom on the same floor as the history prep room, so there was no real rush. My case involved freshmen, so these kids had nothing to do with it. Still, I highly doubted I'd end up with Yukari's class. I entered the classroom right as the bell rang. The air inside was so gloomy that you'd never believe these girls had been on break mere seconds earlier. Several of them did spare me a glance, only to immediately turn their heads back forward. Save a few, anyway. So she's actually in this class, huh? And Yukari was right next to her.
昨日よりこちらで臨時講師を務めることになった時坂です。
No one reacted when I got up to the podium and formally introduced myself either. I'd honestly thought hearing my last name might have elicited a few looks in Yukari's direction, but everyone seemed almost too disciplined in that regard. The sea of white uniforms was beginning to blur into one giant mass.
本日は特別講義ということで、英国と
Still no response even after I began. Yukari appeared to be taking notes on my lecture. Tojiko was writing something too, whatever it was, it clearly wasn't related to what I was saying, since her pencil was racing far too fast for that. Maybe it was one of her novels. She had mentioned she wrote those. Now she's drawing a picture of you looking like a dork or something. She's passing notes.
戦争末期に出てきたのが有名なジャンヌ・ダルクです。彼女に協力したジル・ドレという貴族がいたのですが、よそみやさん。
Tojiko's head darted up like she'd been caught with her pants down.
彼がモデルであると言われている童話の主人公は誰でしょう？
童話？子供たち。
どんな童話だよ。
ちゃんとしたグリム童話だよ。まあ残酷すぎてすぐ削除されたらしいけどね。
なんでそういうことばかり知ってるんだ。念のために言っておくと青ひげだからな。
青ひげってローマのフリードリヒ一世じゃなかったっけ？
それは赤ひげ王な。
How does she even know that? All that aside, none of the other students reacted at all, not even to the whole back and forth Tojiko and I just had. Minus an exasperated look from Yukari anyway. I went back to teacher mode and resumed the lecture, only to notice a student seated by the window. It was Toko Kachiki. So she's in the same class as Yukari and Tojiko, huh? Though she wasn't taking any notes, her eyes remained trained on me like a hawk. Oh, this is pretty damn awkward. Kept teaching until the bell rang, but the other students wore the same expressionless masks from start to finish. I let out a deep sigh once I escaped the classroom. That was exhausting. Silent pressure didn't even begin to describe it. I never knew such an overwhelming lack of response could be so painful. I felt like I was wasting my time in there. This could make investigating a Herculean labor. Trying to get them to talk was like wringing blood from a stone.
お疲れ様です。時坂先生。
Hello? A young teacher suddenly addressed me.
ああ、どうも。
It was only after greeting him that I realized I didn't know his name.
2年藤組の担任をしています。草加達彦です。
ああ、妹がいつもお世話になっています。
やはり時坂さんのお兄さんでしたか。こちらこそよろしくお願いします。立ち話もなんですから、場所を変えましょうか。
Osaka moseyed down the hallway. I followed him, figuring this would be as good an opportunity as any to get some answers from an insider. We sat at the visitors' sofas in the staff room.
学生たちの様子には驚かれたでしょう。
そうですね。おとなしいですよね。
It didn't seem like we'd caught the attention of anyone else, fortunately. Still, I kept my voice hushed to be safe. This wasn't exactly a conversation I wanted people overhearing, after all.
お気持ちはお察ししますよ。最初は僕もそうでしたから。なんというか、反応が薄いんですよね。
授業を進める上では良いのではないですか？
そうでもありませんよ。話を聞いているのか、理解しているのか全くわかりませんからね。
Kosaka heaved a deep sigh. It seemed he shared my pain.
臨時講師とはいえ、大変だと思いますよ。
そんなに大変なのですか？
女学校ですから、いろいろとあるんですよ。
Kosaka flashed me a weary smile.
まあ、 自分がいる期間は短いですからね。なんとかやりますよ。
そうですね。頑張ってください。ああ、それと一つだけ
何ですか？
この学院では学生との必要以上の接触は禁じられていますから気をつけてください。若い教師というだけで理事や保護者会から警戒されてしまいますから。
ご丁寧にどうも。
Wonderful. I suppose I should have expected as much from a school filled with sheltered young ladies. Though personally, I couldn't see any good coming out of keeping them so isolated from the world. I had lunch with Kasaka before leaving the staff room. The two of us stuck to innocuous topics from start to finish, so unfortunately I didn't learn anything useful. Still, this place was uncanny as hell. None of the students so much as whispered a word about the disappearances thanks to the stifling atmosphere. Though two of their own had gone missing, nothing seemed to miss. I would have expected more of a commotion, especially since missing persons reports had been filed already. Needless to say, investigating behind everyone's backs like this certainly made things much harder than they needed to be. This is what put bread on my table, so I had no right to complain. I spotted a throng of people in a corner of the hallway. Now that was curious. Girls were crowding around Orihime Tsukishima. Though I couldn't tell what they were discussing, they were all staring enviously at her. They looked at her not as an idol, but an outright goddess.
すごいでしょ、織姫様。
I glanced at my side to find that Tojiko had snuck up to me before I'd even noticed.
なんだ、トジコか？
トジコって言うな。
She kicked me in the shin.
なんで織姫様を見てたの？
人気があるんだなと思ってな。
そうだね。後輩だけじゃなくて同級生からも慕われているみたいだからね。
Tojiko's choice of words struck me as odd.
先生、なしたん？
いや、お前も慕っていたように思えたんだが。
I'd assumed as much based on how she'd acted this morning, but now she was practically forsaking Orihime as though she had the wool lifted from her eyes.
さすがは探偵だね。
Tojiko whispered to keep my profession a secret from the rest of the students.
何か理由があるようだな。
今は内緒だよ。
Tojiko flashed me a mischievous smirk before joining the ring of Orihime devotees.
失礼します。
I decided to visit the infirmary in my free time. I wanted to ask Dr. Akazaki some questions, but it didn't seem like anyone was around, unfortunately.
いや、誰か寝ているのか。
The curtains around the bed were drawn shut. That indicated someone wasn't feeling well, so I couldn't afford to overstay my welcome. So I turned to leave when suddenly a familiar voice stopped me in my tracks. Yeah, it's Toko.
時坂先生？
トーコか？
ああ、やっぱり時坂先生だ。
The curtains parted from the inside, revealing a grinning Toko on the bed.
起こしてしまったか。
最初から眠ってなどいないさ。退屈だったから少し付き合ってくれないかな。
Toko sat
ど
up.
こか悪いのか？
無病息災というわけではないけれど、取り立てで病弱というわけではないと思うよ。
まだ休んでいろよ。
I motioned for Toko to stop just as she was about to get out of bed. I sat in a nearby chair and faced Toko. She seemed somewhat haggard. She definitely looked sickly, though maybe that was just because her face was pale to begin with.
先生の授業、なかなか面白かったよ。
I did a double take and stared at Toko's face after hearing that.
ここでは授業といえば、思想の押し付けや受験のための詰め込みばかりだからね。
ちゃんと聞いていてくれたんだな。
当然じゃないか。授業の経験がない探偵さんがどんな楽しいヘマをしでかすか固唾を飲んで見守っていたんだよ。
趣味悪いな。
That was the only reason she paid attention to my lecture.
冗談だよ。
Toko chuckled.
あ
Hot
ら、
nurse!
時坂先生じゃありませんか。
Nene returned to the
お
infirmary.
邪魔していますよ。
ええ、それは構わない。
Nene glanced at Toko.
赤崎先生、私はもう大丈夫ですので。
Toko rose to her feet, straightened out her clothes, and passed right by me.
大丈夫なのかい？
ええ、もちろん。それではごゆっくり。
Oh, I will.
Tojiko sensei.
Don't you even worry about it. Me and Hot Nurse, we're gonna get to know each other, trust me. She left the infirmary after lingering on my name far longer than necessary.
なんだあいつ。
朽木さんですか？あまりよくは知りませんけれど、時々ここで休んでいますね。
Now that the bed's empty, I mean, what?
そうなんですか。
So she really was ill despite her tough act.
あの年頃だと生理不順などで体調も崩しやすいですからね。
Was that how it worked? I had no idea, even though I lived with a girl this very same age.
ところで、 先生はなぜここへいらしたんですか？
ああ、そうそう。聞きたいことがありましてね。
I could think about Toko later. Work came
行
first.
方不明になっている2人の学生についてなんですが。
石園さんと今村さんでしたら、確か1年生の佐藤歩さんと仲が良かったと記憶しているわ。
佐藤さんですね。
I made a mental note to pay her a visit later. Yeah, she was like Yui's best friend too, so that's...
あと西園さんは美術部だから、あなたの妹さんに聞くのもいいと思うわよ。
ああ、そうか。
So Yukari had ties to her too.
どうもありがとうございます。
いえいえ、私にはこのくらいしかできませんから。
What's the most you could do though? Just curious. Wink wink nudge nudge. Nene saw me off with a little smile. I had another class in the afternoon, but students there were just as unresponsive as the first. They simply took the lesson in silence, never once making any chit-chat. Then again, I was teaching seniors this time, so maybe they just wrote it off as a pointless lecture and ignored me. Still, I worried for my future in this place all the same, not as a teacher, but a detective. In any case, now I could get down to investigating. I had a new lead, Ayumi Sato, Yui Nishizono and Haruka Imamura's mutual friend. I could probably still find her if I went looking. The freshman classrooms resided on the first floor. However, a voice called me to a halt right when I started to make my way down the stairs.
先生。
何ですか？
I turned around and cocked my head. Though I knew we'd met before, her name wasn't coming to me. What do you mean her name wasn't coming to you? It's a pretty fucking easy name to remember if you remember the first chick. Oh yeah, that's Toko's best friend. What was her name? Man, that eludes me. Can't possibly remember. Come on, Reiji.
2年藤組の水原塔子です。
ああ、朽木さんの友達の。
So she was in that class too, huh? She blended in so well with the other students that I didn't notice.
何かありましたか？
先生。
Toko looked up my way. She was glaring at me apprehensively like a mouse trying to scare off a cat. After a moment, she managed to muster a frail whisper.
塔子に近づかないでください。
Ha!
Eh?
Eh?
失礼します。
Toko turned around and left without giving me a chance to question her.
何だったんだ。
Unfortunately, there was no one around who could answer that question. Classes ended for the day. If I was going to start investigating for real, it'd have to be now. First order of business was resuming my plan to speak with Ayumi Sato. There was just one problem, a big one in fact. I had no idea what she looked like. Could have just asked some other students about her, but that seemed way too conspicuous. A new short-term teacher looking for a single student sounded extremely sketchy. What to do? Yeah, ask Yukari. That was exactly what I was like, why don't you just ask your sister? Clearly your sister would know people. Even if she wasn't friends with her, she'd at least be able to point her out, be like, give you some descriptors, be like, oh yeah, she's that girl from that club. Blah blah blah. Yeah, go ask Yukari. Asking Yukari seemed like the smart play. It sure did. After all, she'd catch on to my motives right away. I found Yukari in front of her classroom.
おい、ゆかり。
どうかしましたか？
She was carrying her bag. Guess she was about to go home.
頼まれて欲しいことがある。
ええ、構いませんけど。
1年生の佐藤歩という学生を知っているか？
ええ、もちろん。西園さんの友達ですから。
Yukari kept her voice quiet to avoid any prying ears.
話が聞きたいから呼んできてもらえないか？
それは構わないのですが、彼女は剣道部ですから、この時間は練習をしていると思いますよ。
そうなのか。
終わってからの方がいいと思いますけど。
I see. I've got some time to kill, huh? I knew Ayumi Sato's location. Though I still didn't know what she looked like, I probably didn't need to visit the kendo hall to check. Keeping a low profile is more important. All sorts of unsavory rumors could start spreading if people found out a teacher went to see a specific student. Still, is all this secrecy really necessary? Things would have been so much easier if I could have operated out in the open.
こんな環境で生活することなんざなかったからな。
私の兄さんは年頃の女学生がたくさんいると我を見失う危険な人物だったのですね。
なんでそうなるゆかり。
I glanced up to find Yukari just a meter or two away. She must have overheard me talk to myself.
鼻の下を伸ばしていらっしゃるようでしたから。
それはないぞ。で、何の用だ？
お話がありますから美術室まで来ていただけますか？
ここではダメなのか？
ええ、向こうにみんないますから。
Up the room as Yukari led the
美
way.
術室はどこにあるんだ？
物質棟と芸術教室は別棟になってるんです。戦後の学生改革の際、手狭になった本校舎から分けたという話ですよ。
Yukari walked on ahead.
で、何の話なんだ？
そう焦らなくても大丈夫ですよ。別に無理難題を押し付けるつもりはありませんから。
そう願うよ。
There are already two of the students in the art room. Toko Kichiki and Toko Mizuhara.
遅かったね、時坂先生。先生。
The two Tokos sat in chairs side by side.
で、何の用事があるんだ？
来週14日の水曜日に部活動の研修として美術館へ行く予定なんです。
水曜日って平日じゃないか。
平日ですけれど休校日ですから。
そこで時坂先生に頼みがあるんだ。本来ならば顧問の先生が引率するのだけど、その日どうも都合が悪いらしい。
で、俺についてこいと？
ええ、兄さんはおそらく暇でしょうからちょうどいいはずですよ。
Seriously?
面倒くさいから嫌だと言ったら？
認めません。
My sister's smile was positively blood-curdling.
まあいいじゃないか。時坂先生も暇なんだろ？
暇じゃない。
Shit. Shit. For whatever reason, I just couldn't refuse the request when it came from this girl.
別に先生がいなくてもいいじゃないですか。
Toko suddenly bared her evident distaste.
どうこ？そういうわけにもいかないんだよ。でも
頼りない兄ですけれど保護者としては使えますから。
Was insulting someone how people asked favors these days? Toko still clearly wasn't happy about the arrangement. It seems she disdained me.
ところで、美術館では何をやっているんだ？
間宮心臓という画家の個展が開かれているんですよ。
間宮し。
世界でも高く評価されている芸術家ですよ。
I sure hadn't heard of him, because it showed just how much I knew about art.
絵画に限らず彫刻などでも多くの作品を発表されています。カトリック信者であったらしく宗教画に近いものが多いのですけれどね。
だから勉強を兼ねて見に行くのさ。それでは先生。
Toko got up, carrying her bag and sketchbook.
もう帰るのか？
いや、絵の続きを描きたいんだ。それじゃ。
Toko vacated the art room.
待って、どこ？
Toko also got up quickly and followed suit. Was it just me, or did she shoot me one last glare?
兄さんも帰りますか？
いや、俺はまだやることがある。
Kendo practice would probably be ending any minute now.
そうですか。ではまた後ほど。
I left the art room and headed for the main building. I saw girls carrying what appeared to be kendo gear filling in at the exact same time.
佐藤歩さんは今。
The girls turned around upon hearing my voice. A moment later, one of them stepped forward.
私ですか？何か？
The girl flashed me a suspicious glance. Though she appeared docile, she had a glint in her eye as other students lacked. Couldn't tell if it was because she did kendo or was simply wary of me. Maybe it was both.
少し話があるのですが。
話？
Aimi cocked an eyebrow.
ええ。あまり大きな声では言えない話なので。
ここではダメなのですか？
Oh boy, she's really cautious of me. Where can we talk about this privately? Huh. It definitely couldn't be the staff room because you don't want any of the teachers overhearing it. You could say the infirmary because you know that Nene's in on everything. But then also people are like, oh, there's a bed there, he's trying to get freaky. But then there's also the history prep room, and it's like, oh, but then you'll be all one-on-one. And you'll be just those two, and it'll be a little bit weird, right? Interesting. I think I am gonna actually have to, god damn it, I keep forgetting that's what right click does. I am gonna have to bust a save here. I'm thinking we need to bust a save. Thinking we need to bust a save. And bust a save we shall. I feel like 2 or 3 has to be the right answer, but both of them come with their drawbacks. Because if you say the history prep room, then they're just gonna be like, oh, you just want to be one-on-one with her, and she's gonna be all by herself, and this can be weird. But if you say the infirmary, it's like, yeah, so, you know, the doctor will be there. I won't try anything weird, but then you're like, what if the doctor isn't there, and there's a bed there? Is he gonna try to do something? I know it definitely can't be the staff room. I don't trust the staff room. That's definitely not where my mind goes. I think I'm gonna follow my gut and go for the infirmary.
では保健室で赤崎先生もいるでしょうから。
Yeah, let her know that someone else is involved, so it's not just him.
職員室では行けないのですか？
Ayuma's brow furrowed. While the staff room wasn't exactly private, we could probably avoid prying ears so long as we took it to the reception area and spoke in hushed tones. Though in hindsight, I should have considered she'd be uncomfortable going to an isolated place with some guy she just met. I mean, that's what I was sensing as well. I just felt like the infirmary, like there'd be someone else, they'd be in on it.
そうですね。職員室に行きましょうか。
はい。
That seemed agreeable to her, so I decided to head there immediately. We arrived at the staff room.
おや、時坂先生。
I bumped into Seiki just as he was leaving.
例の失踪事件のことで彼女に話を聞こうと思いまして。
There were no other teachers around. Thus, I openly mentioned the case loud enough for Ayumi to hear.
そうですか。でしたら、奥の応接でお話しされた方がよろしいでしょうね。
Saiki gestured to the sofas by the wall.
お心遣い感謝します。
I beckoned Ayumi over to the sofas.
先生、何者なんですか？
今は非常勤講師の時坂礼二です。
I said as much, knowing that answer wasn't going to satisfy her.
でも、失踪事件って。まさかユイのこと。
まあ似たようなものではあるけれどね。探偵だよ。
探偵。
That wasn't a job that exactly inspired confidence. Ayumi did seem to relax a bit after hearing that.
西園さんと今村さんのこと。
わかりました。
Ayumi nodded.
まずは西園さん。どういう人だったのかな。
ユイは明るい子でした。誰とも分け隔てなく接することのできる性格でしたから。
友達が多いね。今村さんは？
今村さんも友達はたくさんおられたようです。
Interesting. So both women who went missing were very cheerful. Very cheerful women. Got along well with others. Oh no. I start to think about what other students do we know as cheerful, and that makes me very worried.
二人がいなくなる前、何か気になったことはないかな。
Ayumu hung her head, clearly trying to recall our times with them.
どんな些細なことでもいいんだ。
今思えば、年が明けてからのユイは元気がなかったような気がします。
Interesting.
年明けか。いなくなる直前だな。
Which meant something had probably happened around the start of the month.
ユイは決して一人でいなくなってしまうような真似はしません。
Ayumu's voice remained level, but I could tell she was keeping her emotions in check. There was nothing I could say to that. I couldn't bring myself to tell her that it was indeed likely Yui Nishizono had found herself at the wrong end of a crime she feared.
今村さんに関しては何か知らないかな。
今村さんは特に何も。ユイがいなくなった時には
Did she go
とて
investigating
も心配して
into
くれていまし
what
たけ
happened
ど
with Yui and ended up being... Took that to mean Ayumu hadn't picked up on any signs concerning Haruki Imamura
あ
then.
りがとう。すまないね。無理やり聞き出すようなまね。
いいんです。時坂先生、
何ですか？
ユイを今村さんを見つけてください。
ああ、もちろん。そのためにここへ来たのだからね。
Once again, I couldn't bring myself to say the odds of finding them alive were abysmally low. To be fair, she didn't say find them alive. You can still fulfill that request. This guy was already taking on dark hues by the time I finished talking to Ayumi Sato. Alright, where to? The art museum. No? Why would I go to the art museum now? Weird. No point in sticking around the academy. We already did what we set out to do there. No point going there. I think once again, double back to the station, head to the office, rack our brains a bit. That's just where my mind goes.